When it comes to emerging risks, I'm going to quote Sam Palmisano of IBM. Stuff happens. I'm joined today by Dennis Whalen of KPMG and Doug Maine, who is a corporate director on 3 public companies. Dennis and Doug, I want to ask you a very simple question. Why is NIST vitally important to board members?
Well, I'll start by saying cyber risk and the focus on cyber risk today isn't going away anytime soon. Businesses have been spending a really long time integrating technology in virtually everything they do. So the challenges that we have today around cyber are a function of that transformation of businesses and embedding technologies. NIST is one of the tools people tend to be thinking about today as trying to level the playing field and helping people get a sense, are you at least meeting some minimum requirements? It's a good start, but I don't think it gets you to the promised land. I think the first thing you've got to realize is that while cyber is a function of technology, it's a business issue more than it's a technology issue. So I think you got to think about it from, the solution's got to come from different parts of the organization, and everybody needs to be in the conversation. The next part that I think is equally important before you even get to how do you have a conversation about NIST with a board is you've got to sit back and say, where in the board construct is the conversation and the responsibility for cyber risk going to sit? Is it full board? Is it the audit committee? Is it the risk committee? Is it the technology committee?
Now, Doug, I know this is a passion point for you, both cybersecurity and NIST. What are your thoughts?
My advice to boards is either adopt it or at a minimum reconcile your own framework to NIST and determine are there things that you're missing.
Let me ask this, is there any reason not to adopt it?
Well, you may have a separate framework on your own that's working for you, but again, there may be some holes in that, and that's why I would reconcile to it.
Doug, in terms of volatility risk, let's address the kind of the global currency risk. You probably know the countries where it's most risky, but give us an overall umbrella.
Turning to the boards and why this is a concern, of course, it's really multifaceted. It includes hedging. It includes financial reporting, it can include customer contracts, are all susceptible to currency risks. And I do believe that this is something that should be on the board agenda or at a minimum on the audit committee agenda.
Compared to what Doug just said, and you might even want to pretend he's one of your clients, what should his board also be thinking about when it comes to these currency bugaboos?
I've watched currency a lot during 14, watched the euro move, watched the price of oil, so commodities move and they have an impact on currencies. But in early 2015, so in January, when a lot of companies were starting to give guidance around revenues for 2015, it was relatively startling the number of major U.S. companies who were showing significant drops in revenues because of negative currency movements, the strength of the dollar. And so the question that I think boards or audit committees need to make sure they're thinking about, and even compensation committees, is what are you managing, how are you managing management, and how are you rewarding management, and what incentives or disincentives have you put in to do the right thing around currency? You don't want to necessarily give them a pass, but you also don't want to put them into a position where they create high-risk speculative strategies around certain currencies.
There's an investor issue that over and above, I think, everything else that we spoke about, and that's how do you report on currency. Now, as Dennis will certainly tell you, GAAP does not allow you to report any other way than per GAAP. But many companies, and my alma mater is IBM, actually does not report in the press releases, but they report in investor conference calls on not only as reported, i.e. GAAP numbers, but also in constant currency numbers. And as an example, last quarter, IBM's as reported revenue was down 12%, but on a constant currency basis, it was down 2%. So given that level of magnitude, it's important in my mind for investors to know how the company's really performing net of currency issues.
If you'd like to learn more about emerging risks or any other risk subject, I encourage you to do 3 things. Read NACD Directorship Magazine, go to the NACD website, or go to the KPMG website and you'll be very pleasantly surprised. I'm Chris Clark, and this is BoardVision.